Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And we are here at the beautiful TJ Connor School, located at 201 Monroe Street. And we are here for the final Hoboken Mayoral debate before the Tuesday, November 4th election. And today we have a special highlight show for you of today's festivities. But we couldn't do this without our wonderful sponsors for this debate. They are the Mason Civic League, the Hoboken Democratic Committee, Joseph Bronco, and Pavel Sokolov, the chairman of the Hoboken Republican Committee. But folks, I'm sure you're tired of hearing from me. Let's go right to the action. As someone born and raised in Hoboken for 27 years, I've seen the invisible line between uptown and downtown, especially how the housing authority community is treated like it's separate from the rest of the city. Besides just showing your face in the housing authority during campaign season, what real solutions do you have to bridge that divide and truly unite Hoboken so that every resident feels equally seen, heard, and valued?
This is something that's very important to me. One, showing up here and to be part of this community. And I remember being at community dinners before COVID happened, in the community room at 221 Jackson, joining the West Side Women, then Familyhood. Those kinds of community organizations need to have our support. And that means not just ensuring that they have sufficient funding as local nonprofits, but also then showing up for them every time they invite us, whether it's a dinner or it's the trunk or treat this past weekend. Secondly, I think we need to provide more city services that are closer to campus so that it breaks down those barriers. For example, the city has 2 social workers who work through constituent services, providing regular office hours on campus. Office hours from the mayor as well. That's something I've committed to, is ensuring I show up with town hall meetings throughout the city, not just by city hall. And finally, as part of the redevelopment the redevelopment plan, thinking about the physical barriers and ensuring that the future of campus doesn't have fencing and physical barriers that make you feel like you're on a separate campus.
We sponsored a number of bus trips to go to Pennsylvania, to go to South Jersey, to go to beaches. We've always been involved in that. And that didn't require an Instagram photo, just something we do from our heart and for the community. When Community Lifestyle was coming up, we helped raise that organization from the ground up. When we have the Winter Wonderland program, getting involved with Direct and the other members of the Housing Authority, we raised our hands to that occasion. But for the first time, what we did was a lot different from City Hall. We invested community development block grant funding to the Hoboken Housing Authority for new roofs, new boiler rooms, paving the roads, paving the parking lots, and really integrating our city and recognizing the services that it needed. And we needed to do more. Although it's federally funded, we need to do more as a city to protect our most vulnerable. And we started doing that in 2015 when I was reelected to the city council, and the federal government allowed to do that. Those are things I want to continue to do moving forward, whether I'm your mayor or not. But we'd be the mayor on November 4th with all of your help. So I really appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you, Councilman.
I must respectfully disagree with all of them. The question was, what will you do to integrate not only at election time? I heard this in 2021, the election prior to that, and the election that also one of these council people helped Ravi with run unopposed. The housing authority is forgotten, guys. The people that's sitting on the stage tonight pick your commissioners. First of all, let's start with a commissioner to come down there and sit on the board and worry about the cost, the way you live inside your house. I don't care about no outside trees and plants with CDPG grants. That money should be in your units. My son lived in the housing authority. I want to cry. And yeah, we grew up uptown and we're not integrated. They forget about y'all. It's election time. It sounds good. It's just, I'm trying everything in my power not to get emotional because you guys are being deceived. Wake up. And in closing, this is the ones that didn't take the $35 and the hot dog and the free treats. You need 4 years of service, not one political cut or a handout of services.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Peters.
you.
Thank you.
Living in housing authority is my first-hand lived experience. I grew up in a similar city in India. My father was a factory worker. Both of my parents did not finish high school. We lived in a small apartment. My brother and I shared a bedroom. So I know what it's like when the rest of the city does not treat you with respect and dignity. What my savior was the school. That's where I felt I was one of them. I was not different. My teachers made sure I had all the opportunities that the rich kids did, and that helped me emerge from the destiny that my parents were locked into. So when I'm your mayor, I'll bring that compassion to the table. I'll bring that firsthand experience to your life. I know how important it is to feel like you belong. And that's the promise I will make to you.
One point I want to add, I'm the only person up here who has been actively talking about expanding our housing stock at the Hoboken Housing Authority. I don't want to just do a one-for-one replacement, what we're talking about. I want to expand that and expand it beyond our main campus. Why should you, as a resident in the Housing Authority, not have a view of Manhattan? Why should you not be able to have a home on the river? That's what I want to do as mayor. I want to make sure that we have housing across the city of Hoboken for our Housing Authority residents.
Thank you. Harassment and sexual assaults are on the rise, especially in the southwest portion of town where we are tonight. What are your plans to work with the Hoboken Police Department to improve response times? You have 60 seconds.
I think number one, get them out of the cars. Police department needs to be walking our streets. They need to be walking into our businesses. We need to have an intimate relationship with our police officers. Everyone should know their name. They should get to know people's names. And that way people feel more comfortable walking through our streets. It's not just a problem in Southwest Hoboken. It's been a problem throughout our city for the last couple of years. We want to recognize that. I think we want to implement a blue light program. It's in parks currently, in Columbus Park. It's in college campuses throughout the country. We can implement that blue light system throughout our city to make it a little bit safer. But ultimately, it comes down to our response time and police being present. And police being present, not in their vehicles, but walking the streets. And that's what we want to do day one, to change that current dynamic that they have. And also, secondly, we purchased a mobile unit. So we want to have that mobile unit move throughout our city to different problem spots. We have that more visibility for police officers, not in the Southwest Hoboken, but throughout our city. Visibility is the key. Visibility is our thwart, and that's why I like to sit them walk our streets on a daily basis. That's number one. That's our biggest priority.
If we wanted our police department to change behavior, we just missed a big opportunity. Just a few months ago, this council, with no votes, it was 7 yes and 2 absentees, passed a police contract which gives the police department, police officers, close to 10% increase in salary in the last few years of the contract. It's an 8-year contract. That was the opportunity to ask for some reforms. That was the opportunity to say, we want more patrolling. We want more cops on bikes and walking our streets. We missed that opportunity. What I would do is involve Hudson County more. Hudson County has 300 sheriff officers. They should be patrolling our streets as well, alongside with our own police department. We give $70 million to Hudson County. I worked on Wall Street. They say over there, if you have a hammer, use it. We have a hammer. We have our taxes. We should use that to demand more from the county.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fisher, 60 seconds.
Yeah, so we hear a lot about community policing, and definitely day one, I will be a hands-on mayor with our police and ask and require that they convert their current operations to community policing. What is the difference? The difference between community policing and crime fighting is what we see when they're in the cars and they're chasing people that have already committed the crime, whereas community policing is when they're walking around our neighborhood, and just their presence and interacting and engaging with our community keeps the crimes from happening. And that's what we have to do more of. I've been working with, a year ago, we had a terrible situation in Church Square Park where a nanny was beaten in front of children in the middle of the day on Halloween. And since then, Councilman Giattino had started an effort with neighbors in that area that I stepped into after she passed to work closely with our police to come up with a better connection between our police and the public. And we've been meeting with the police about every 6 weeks since then. It's not easy, but I would agree with a couple of the people up here that we need to make sure that our police resources are allocated where we need them, not sitting in places where we don't.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilwoman Jabour, 60 seconds.
Sure. As mayor, public safety is my number one priority. And so that has to be where the resources go. That's why on the council, when I had the opportunity to vote for additional police officers, I did. Not everyone up here did. The reason that we need that is to substantiate this idea of a community policing bureau. It's something that we've talked about at great length on the council, but we need the additional officers in order to do that. Part of the reason we also supported, well, I personally supported the contracts is because it's becoming increasingly difficult to recruit additional police officers. You may have heard any number of commercials from the Port Authority or from New York City. People are trying to recruit more officers because that profession is becoming more challenging to enter into. There's a high degree of burnout associated with that. And so in order to have a strong police force, we needed to ensure that we had fair contracts, which I was proud to support. Finally, information sharing is a really important key to this ingredient of feeling safe in your community. And so social media can sometimes be difficult for that, but it can be very positive. So for example, when we can use the Nixle alerts to let people know what's going on in their community, that's an easy way that we could do better to tell you what's going on.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
We had 9 police officers apply to be Hoboken police officers. That's it, 9 applicants. So how are we going to do all this extra policing without the bodies? That's why that contract was so important, to entice more recruits to come into our police department. And we have 5 agencies: Hoboken, Stevens, Port Authority, New Jersey Transit, and Hudson County Sheriff all patrol our streets, but they don't communicate with one another. We need to improve that communication across the board. That way we have more eyes on the street with all those agencies as well.
Folks, we hope you're enjoying this highlight reel of the last Hoboken mayoral debate before the Tuesday, November 4th election. When we come back, we have more from all 6 candidates running for the city's highest office. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano here, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to follow and like our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok pages. We're constantly updating those platforms with cool stories and awesome reels. Also, you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we post all of our full shows, and you can also binge watch all of our previous episodes. And if you would like to contact us, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com. We'll see you there. City officials have warned taxes will be on the rise next year, which will make Hoboken more unaffordable and less economically diverse. What would you do to rein in spending in the budget?
We need to restructure how our city government is. We need to take that top-heavy government and start to pare that down. Reduce the number of departments, make sure each director is working efficiently and effectively to run this city. That's first. Second, we have to tackle some issues that everyone seems to think are not able to be changed: our pension, our healthcare costs, and our debt service. Everyone says that we can't change these things, but in fact we can. Each of those is tied to the number of employees in the city. Each of those is tied to how many times we put something on the credit card. Those need to change. And we have a very clear plan on how we could do that. So to reduce the number of taxes in the city of Hoboken is not as hard as so many people think it is. You just have to have the political will to do it.
Thank you. Ms. Waiter, 60 seconds.
The political will and also the integrity. You got a lot of big political bosses that's been in place for years, making 187, almost 200 grand. And guess who paid for it? You guys. I blame every council person because the mayor's supposed to work with your 9 council members on contracts. Okay, so they know the top heavy business administrators, the administrator to the administrator to the administrator, getting 6 figures, and that's what hurt you. Don't have nothing to do with their health care. Again, poison politics. So beware of who's going to be the next mayor, as they say, because you're going to get more of the same.
We definitely have financial pressure next year. I would disagree with Councilman Russo, who actually has not been active in the entire decade that I've been on the council with the budget, and I have. Debt service is immovable, and if anything, it's getting bigger. Healthcare costs, definitely we have an opportunity to rein in costs, but it's not something, some of it's overnight by changing how it's administered, but some of it is renegotiating our union contracts. You heard that the council approved an 8-year contract with, a chunk of our employees. So those types of things happen over time. We need to do a full budget review of City Hall and look for areas of waste like other people have mentioned. We do have some mayoral appointed hires at the top that we can reconsider whether or not we need all of those. But as importantly, people need to understand the reason why our costs are so high is because we had a mayor who he had an Oprah approach to things like you get a park and you get a park and you get a park, and now we're actually paying for it. So we're getting good things out of it, but the cost of that is significant, and we have to find ways to offset that in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Jabour, 60 seconds.
Sure. I think anyone who says that there's a simple answer to this is pretty much lying to you, because this is a very complicated issue and it's going to absolutely be a challenge in the coming years. During my tenure on the council, it is something that I have endeavored to be part of in terms of being part of that conversation as chair of the Finance Committee. The challenge is that people want more services from local government, not less. And if you attend any city council meeting, you'll hear that. Part of my concern is people feeling the value of their tax dollars at work, not just seeing the dollars go out. You want to walk around the city and feel like you're seeing your tax dollars show up in terms of the conditions of our parks and the cleanliness of our streets. We need to have a participatory budget process. It needs to start earlier, and it needs to be better communicated with all of you as our residents. Because right now, Hoboken continues to have the lowest tax rate in all of Hudson County. That's a fact. But if you don't feel that when you're walking around, that's a disconnect in the system. We need to actually put that information front and center. My entire career has been working to create metrics that can communicate our goals and outcomes. We need to bring that to City Hall so that we can actually show you the value of your dollars at work.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilman Ramos, 60 seconds.
Yep. Essentially, we need to be more efficient with your tax dollars. We have 3 assistants in the parking utility right now. We don't need 3 assistants to direct the parking utility. We need more people helping, like Councilwoman Jabour just said, cleaning our parks. They're making a lot less than 3 assistants. We have 2 PR people within City Hall right now, each making 6 figures or close to 6 figures right now. So there's efficiencies across the board that we could find within our budget. As far as pilot payments go, that's been mentioned every single form that we've had. Pilot payments are things that we're looking for when we want something from the city. Many of the pilot payments that we have coming on the last 30 years provided affordable housing throughout the city. They've helped pay for parks in our city. They've helped pay for infrastructure in our city. So pilots can't be just demagogued as a good thing or a bad thing, because we wouldn't have 77 Jackson Street without a pilot that has a park, a plaza, water infrastructure underneath it, affordable housing units inside, and it's a vibrant community. It's a vibrant community we want to create throughout the rest of Hoboken as well. But we need to be more efficient how we're spending our dollars.
Thank you, Councilman. Any rebuttals? Ms. Ajmani, 30 seconds.
I just want to talk about these tax breaks, the pilot payments. A developer is not going to give you something for free. If they're building a park, if they're doing affordable housing, somebody is paying for it. And you know who it is? It's us taxpayers. Because no tax break is free for the taxpayers. Any tax break to one entity is a tax increase for the rest of us. And the entity that suffers the most is our schools, because these pilots take away money from our schools, $9 million a year.
Thank you, Ms. Ajmani. Councilman Ramos, 30 seconds.
Now, I mean, the pilot 77 Jackson Street was an example for the first time in the state of New Jersey's history that we helped give money to our public schools. We made that happen there. Now it's a model for the rest of Hoboken and the rest of New Jersey. So we're pretty proud of that commitment. There's 40 plus units there. There's 10% affordable housing and units throughout our city of Hoboken as well. But pilots go to priorities. That's what it's for. If affordable housing is a priority, it needs to have a pilot. If a park is priority, you have to figure out a way how we structure to pay for these things. So it's not a tax break. It's a priority of our needs of our community. And that takes transparency and community input to get it done.
Councilwoman Fisher, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but pilots aren't like a one size fits all. The 770 House pilot, Jen Giattino and I voted against because it was just struck at the wrong rate. We should have made so much more money from that pilot for all the affordable housing, et cetera, that we got, but we didn't. And we need someone with experience that knows developer math, that knows how much we can get from developers from everything, instead of giving away the farm, which we typically have done in every single project that we've done in Hoboken.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jabour, 30 seconds.
I'll just say, I think the focus on pilots, I get it. That's a good topic in terms of the debate. But actually, the biggest driver, our budget year to year, is public safety. And that gets to the previous question. If we want to have a safe city, we have to continue to invest in our police department. And that is single-handedly the largest driver. And it is an immovable cost if we want to continue to have a safe city.
Street parking is as scarce in Hoboken as it's ever been. Businesses and patrons have complained that the new Clear Camera program is hurting business and residents' quality of life, especially when they need to run a quick errand and not spend 30 to 60 minutes looking for parking. Are you in favor of the CLEAR program, and explain why or why not?
Now, if you hold a book really close to your eyes, you cannot read it anymore. And on this, what's happened is the council is just so narrowly focused. The question I ask is, what are we trying to solve for? We're trying to give bike riders a safe way to go on Washington, and we're trying to give parking spots to those who need to go in and out of a business. We can do both. All we have to do is move the bike lane closer to the curb so the bike riders are protected. And then you take where the cars are, you take that space and you make it 15-minute or 30-minute spaces so people can go in and out very easily, whether they're picking up picture frame or else. What really bothers me about the way the council makes these decisions is they first just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. If you were buying a car, would you just go out and buy one and try it and see if it works? No, right? We've spent so much money on this CLEAR already. And now we're asking the question, is it the right thing for us?
Thank you, Ms. Ojimani. Councilwoman Fisher, 60 seconds.
Yeah, this is an example of Deanie just not having an idea of what we've done in Hoboken on Washington Street. We literally determined that having bike lanes close to the curb was unsafe because we didn't have enough space on Washington Street. If our road was five feet wider, we could have accommodated, but with the train left there. I am absolutely opposed to this program in particular. We approved these cameras a year and a half ago at a city council meeting where we had a 30-minute conversation about how to make 15-minute drop-off spots using technology that would allow us to monitor and enforce those spots. We've never been able to do it. The only way that you could monitor and enforce previously is like if you had an HPU officer with chalk out there chalking the tires, which was not efficient. So we are excited about that prospect. This program that was unrolled was not a city council vote at all. I screamed loudly at multiple parking and transportation subcommittees against it. This was the mayor's specific decision on rolling this out. It had nothing to do with any of the council members up here.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Jabour, 60 seconds.
Sure. So this question had two parts. The first piece of it was about the scarcity of street parking. Part of what's driving that right now is the fact that the Midtown garage is literally melting cement, and there are hundreds of spots that can't be used because of how degraded that garage is. Secondly, the Garden Street garage is completely closed. That's another set of hundreds of cars that used to use that, but because the mechanicals were so old, it had to be shuttered because people's cars were getting trapped. That's creating increased pressure to on-street parking. With respect to the CLEAR program, the rollout of this program has been absolutely terrible, but the merits of the program are good and sound, and it's worth testing. If you look at Washington Street now on Lower Washington, you can actually ride your bike down it. And in fact, a lot of the e-bike delivery drivers who had been on the sidewalk that people were concerned with are now using the green bike lanes because they are clear. It's amazing to actually see in action, and it addresses a secondary issue in a lot of ways. But we can't continue to deploy all of our police officers to sit and go behind double parked cars that are in those bike lanes all day, because we need them to actually address public safety, not just illegal parking.
Councilman Russo, 60 seconds.
The short answer to the CLEAR program is that no, I do not support the enforcement of those violations using cameras. I've said it at council meetings, I'll say it again. I do not think the city of Hoboken has a mechanism to actually utilize those cameras to enforce. And that, I believe the city's actually being sued at this point. When it comes to parking on street, we need to do a few things. One, we need very short-term parking so people could drop off, pick up, or just run into a store and pick up a delivery. 5 to 10 minute kind of a parking. Utilize loading zones, not just for residents, but utilize the loading zones for the businesses so that they are getting their deliveries within a certain time frame so that we can get those trucks off the streets quickly and they're not there all day. We missed a huge opportunity in the city of Hoboken on the corner of 3rd and Washington Street. City went away from utilizing parking in the city of Hoboken, and we totally decreased it to this unsustainable amount in new projects. We had the opportunity to build a brand new parking garage right on Washington Street for the businesses along Washington Street. It was a missed opportunity, and hopefully we could find a new one.
Illegally double parking in the bike lane is in fact illegal. And so in order to properly enforce that, Rather than having to hire more and more cars to sit there all day and monitor this, I want to see our police officers out there in our parks and other areas of the city to address crime. And if we can use this as a way to assist our ability to enforce, to ensure the safety of people on Washington Street, and to ensure there's a culture of compliance with those rules, I will support that.
All right, folks, we hope you're enjoying the highlight clips from the last Hoboken mayoral debates before Tuesday's election. We have one more segment to go, so you're not going to want to miss it. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano back with you. Folks, we have a new television home. After being on cable access for so long, we are now strictly on streaming. So download the Surge Sports and Entertainment TV app on your Roku TV or your Amazon Fire TV and catch our new episodes every Sunday at 9 a.m. We will see you there. What is your stance on tearing down existing buildings to make way for new developments that are not as affordable as the ones that were torn down and where rent control laws are not in play?
So this is a common debate when it comes to rent control. Economists have had multiple opinions about whether rent control is really feasible over the long term. But since my time on the council, I have been a champion of rent control protections because I know it's one of the ways that we can continue to make Hoboken affordable for families and for residents. One of the first things that I tried to work on was adjusting the annual cap from the 7.5% annual down to 5%. I was very supportive of the against the referendum, that would have undercut rent control protections. But I do know that the reality is that some of these units over time become diminished in their quality. And that's a concern in terms of displacement of those people. So what we need to do is also continue to look at how we can maximize the efficiency of municipal properties to continue to build more new affordable housing and workforce housing. That's why I've been supportive of the Garage B project, which is continuing to move forward. It's a good conversation because we need to prioritize those brand new units that would bring more housing stock to this community.
Thank you. Councilman Ramos, 60 seconds.
Thank you very much. I think we need better enforcement of our rent control laws to make sure that individuals are not being forced out to being displaced. And unfortunately, in our last budget, that was removed from our budget. Adding an additional enforcement individual to try and enforce our rent control laws. And additionally, we need zoning changes. When after Hurricane Sandy, people lost access to their basements. And so those access to their basements, those access to another revenue point. So that made it more enticing to tear down their properties. So it needs to ask them to say, you lost that property here, maybe go up another story without replacing that basement place, going on top another story in certain areas in the city of Hoboken. So that way they can maintain their units and still get their return. Because after Hurricane Sandy, they lost total access to their basements. So that was a revenue point for a lot of landlords in the city of Hoboken, which forced a lot of tear downs in our city, unfortunately. So that's the one point we have to go back and look at as well.
Thank you. Councilman Russo, 60 seconds.
I'm a tenant. I live with the same fears every single day as every other tenant in the city of Hoboken, especially living in a building that's about to reach its obsolescence. I don't know what comes next. Unfortunately, I can't afford a multi-million-dollar home in the city of Hoboken. If I didn't have those protections, I would not be able to be here. We need to make sure that landlords, when they are trying to do any type of rebuild or rehab, they're working specifically with their tenants. And the city needs to make sure that they're doing that in a way so that those tenants are being protected. How do we do that? We increase our inspectors. Years ago, the city used to have a housing inspection unit. We don't have that any longer. The state actually does that for us. We want to make sure that we, as a city, have that control so that our tenants are protected each and every time. Do the same thing with rent control. Increase the ability for our rent control office to go out and understand what units are covered under rent control. Once we are able to do that, we'll have a little bit more peace of mind as tenants in the city.
Thank you. Ms. Waiter, 60 seconds.
Great topic. Sometime I sit till 12 in the morning at the zoning and planning meeting. I'm there too at every meeting. They are building. There's no affordable though. I'm gonna give all of you a homework assignment tomorrow. Each block you turn down, count the luxury 4-story high condominiums. that was built within the last 15 years. I'm a strong voice. I don't even see the council people there. And Mike was right on one thing. The legislation has to be changed. I also live in the same church tower buildings as him. I don't fear nothing because I'm watching. I don't let them get over on me. Anyway, with respect to the zoning laws, the rent control office, deals is being cut for people to get appointed there, and they not being affected by it. That's why they don't care about the rent control laws. And I feel bad for each and every one of you that got to shake in your boots and the key away from getting locked out. I won't let them build anything if it ain't affordable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waiters.
I'll just say just generally, displacement is a top issue. We've seen more and more people that just can't afford to live here anymore and are being pushed out of their home. And oftentimes they're at rents that are just not replaceable, even within hours of Hoboken. And this concept has not been a focus of the administration in the last 8 years, and it just needs to be a top focus. It will be my top focus, and it will sit within an expanded rent control office to make sure we're doing everything we can to avoid displacement.
Ms. Hajmani, you have a rebuttal? 30 seconds.
Garage B was mentioned just now. It's an exhibit A for how backroom deals get done in this city and how broken our politics has become. $22,000 Skylight gave to our politicians months before they won this contract, a contract that they won among 5 developers, but none of us have seen who the other 4 were.
All right, folks, we hope you enjoyed the highlight reel of the Hoboken mayoral debate, the last one before the November 4th election. And folks, we have to thank our sponsors again for putting this event on. They are the Mason Civic League, the Hoboken Democratic Committee, Joseph Bronco, and Pavel Sokolov, who is the chairman of the Hoboken Republican Committee. We want to thank them again for their generosity in putting this program on. Folks, do not forget, Election Day is Tuesday, November the 4th. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Make sure to go out and vote. All right, everybody, join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano. I hope you have a great week, everybody.